Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. We have WWE Money in the Bank coming up in Las Vegas, Nevada. Have your questions regarding Extreme Rules, Money in the Bank, some of the recent releases, and other topics. So let's get started today with the first one, which comes from Coleman MK 1898. Why did they let Roman continue as a babyface and Seth Rollins turning heel mid-promo? I got a lot of questions about Monday's Raw and the Seth Rollins promo where basically he made it clear to the fans that he is still a heel, and that is how WWE wants it to be. WWE wants to continue pushing Roman Reigns as the top babyface, the guy who's carrying the company, and there's another reason as well. WWE is short on top-level heels. There are more baby faces than heels, and I think by keeping Rollins as a heel, WWE is able to balance out the roster and have a strong heel with Seth Rollins. They know they can rely on Rollins to be a great heel, and that was a tremendous job that he did on Raw, getting the fans to turn against him. Didn't work. I doubt anything will really work fully when it comes to getting fans to boo Seth Rollins and cheer Roman Reigns, but he gave it a hell of a try. It was really an awesome promo by Seth Rollins to make it clear to everyone that he's still a bad guy. Fans are still going to cheer him anyways, especially at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, but he really did put a great effort, and I think that Seth Rollins can eventually turn babyface, and when he does, it's going to be huge. One would think that eventually we will see a Seth Rollins versus Triple H match, maybe at SummerSlam, maybe WrestleMania next year, but one would think that eventually that will be the direction. Seth Rollins will become a babyface, and theoretically he could become the top babyface in the company if WWE actually gave him a chance to play that role. Alright, this one comes from KZX Productions. Now that it was announced as a creative frustration issue, do you think Cody Rhodes made the right choice asking to be released? I would say so. If you're not happy at your job, then you should do something else. You want to do what makes you happy, and in the case of Cody Rhodes, like many wrestlers in WWE, they are all very driven people. They want to be on top. These guys work extremely hard. They have hectic schedules. They're traveling constantly. They have to watch their diets. They're working out all the time. They want to be number one. They want the top spot. And Cody Rhodes mentioned in that statement that it's like an actor wanting the top role and not settling for a lesser part. I think that Cody Rhodes made the right decision. The Stardust character was going nowhere, and I think the writing was on the wall that he was not going to get any kind of a push in WWE with all these new people coming in and the returns of people like Seth Rollins and John Cena. Cody Rhodes was likely going to have even less television time than he already had. So I do not blame him for getting out and moving on to something else. And I got this question here from Beast Slayer. Now that Cody Rhodes has left, do you think it's a constant trend for guys leaving and that something is wrong with the system? I definitely feel that WWE has not properly utilized a lot of their talent. I think guys like Cody Rhodes could have gone further, could have been bigger stars for a longer period of time. Same thing with Damien Sandow. Now, could Cody Rhodes have been WWE champion? My opinion is probably not. I don't feel he had enough of a interesting character and promo abilities to be a top star. He's very good in the ring, but he just did not have all the attributes, in my opinion. I do not think he would have been WWE champion if he had gotten the big push and had stuck it out. But I will say that he could have been utilized better. The problem is that WWE is always looking to push new talent, and really for the business to thrive and survive in the long run, you need to push new stars. Look what happened with WCW. They refused to build new stars until it was too late. They kept relying on Hogan and Savage and Flair. And meanwhile, in the WWE, they were creating new stars. Steve Austin, Mick Foley, Triple H, The Rock. And that's what you need to do. You need to keep making new stars and bringing in new people, because characters get old after a while. And casual fans want to see something different, and they want to see new people. WWE has to make new stars, and what that means is, unfortunately, for guys like Cody Rhodes, they are going to be pushed aside after a number of years. Cody Rhodes, he had 10 years in WWE. In the wrestling world, 10 years is a long time. That is a long time to be a star in the wrestling business. I would say Cody Rhodes overall had a good run. Yes, it could have been better, but he did get some memorable moments in the company, and he got to go all over the world and do all these different things, and I would say he had a good career overall. Alright, this one comes from Marcus S. Do you think that Bayley is the best babyface in the WWE right now? I would say in NXT for sure. It's always a question mark how a character will translate to the main roster. Will the casual fans react to that person the same way? You just don't know, but I think in terms of just pure likability, Bayley is definitely one of the top baby faces. She just has this natural charm and natural charisma, and you can't help but like her. I was at the NXT event in Portland, and when she comes out with the music and she's celebrating and doing her thing, it's hard to boo her. I mean, she's a really likable character and person, and to me that makes the best babyface somebody who you feel is natural at what they do, and it's not something that's phony or forced. It's just something that's organic, and I think that's the case with Bayley for sure. Alright, this one comes from True Legend. Hi Aaron, congrats on 800 episodes. Do you think that AJ Styles being brought into WWE has lived up to the hype so far? Absolutely. AJ Styles has become one of the top players in WWE. Now, I know some people will say he did not win a WWE title, and then he lost to Kevin Owens on Raw. He's getting buried. To be in WWE for less than 6 months and to already main event 2 pay-per-views, that is quite the accomplishment, and I think it's only the beginning for AJ Styles. I do not feel he has peaked in WWE, and with that performance at Extreme Rules, I think that will definitely help AJ get over with the top guys, with Vince McMahon and the people running the company. They know now they can rely on AJ Styles in a main event situation. Will AJ be the number 1 guy in WWE? Probably not. I think it's unlikely. But I do feel that AJ will continue to be a major player in WWE. And so far, he has definitely delivered on the big stage. He has gone out there at WrestleMania, and he's gone out there at the pay-per-views, and he has put on incredible performances. And he's gone really over with the fans, and so far I would say his run has been a huge success. Alright, this one comes from Jishnu. Hey Aaron, what's going on with Del Rio and Paige? Are they dating, or is this some kind of a Total Divas storyline? They are actually dating, and a lot of people thought that it was part of a Total Divas storyline, but the fact that Del Rio's kids were there with them at Disneyland or Disney World, wherever they were, that is an indication right there that it is legitimate, and it happens. I know some people are shocked by it. They feel that Del Rio and Paige is a mismatch, but people become close in the wrestling business when you're traveling together and you're doing all these different things together, going to media events together. People can get close and relationships can be formed, and really any 2 people can form a connection. So it's not really a huge shock. I know some people find it weird, this small goth chick with this tall Mexican guy. People think that's weird, but you know, who cares? Let them do what they're going to do. If they're happy, then you should be satisfied with that and let them live their lives. Alright, this one comes from Jared J. Smith. Hey Aaron, what wrestlers past or present were better off as heels as opposed to being faces? I would say, speaking of him, Alberto Del Rio, I felt that he was always better as a heel. When he did that face turn, it was essentially a flop. And I think back to a lot of the giants in WWE, guys that came in as these scary monster heels, and then when they turned babyface, it fell flat. I think of Yokozuna and Vader and Great Khali, these guys that were scary monsters, and then all of a sudden they turn face and they become comedy figures. I would say any guy that is really good at getting heel heat is usually better off as being a heel. I would say that about Edge, even though Edge was very likable as a babyface. Just the fact that he could cut amazing heel promos, that made him one of the best heels. And he was one of the few guys that could get the fans to cheer for John Cena somewhat. Did not work in Canada, but in some of the cities, Edge was just so good as a heel, he could get some fans to cheer for John Cena. And that's a very hard task. So yeah, it just depends on the guy, but I would say traditionally, over the years, it's the guys that are really good at the heel promos and the guys that just play the role of being a monster heel well. Alright, this one comes from Mr. Yuck. Which big guy who fits the Vince mold do you think has more potential? Baron Corbin or Big Cass, or even both? I would say Big Cass at this point. I think that Baron Corbin hasn't really shown a lot on the main roster, although he hasn't been given much to do besides this feud with Dolph Ziggler and having a no DQ match end with a low blow. If the writing was better, maybe Baron Corbin could be more of a force in WWE. So part of it's the writing, and part of it is I just haven't seen a lot from Baron Corbin where I'm looking at this guy and saying this guy is going to be a big deal in WWE. Big Cass is a good promo. He has some charisma, not as much as Enzo, but he does have a bit of a personality. He's got the size. He's a good wrestler. He's got a lot of good attributes. I wouldn't say there's anything about him that's great at this point, but he's still got plenty of time to improve and develop his character. And, you can say the same about Baron Corbin. Time will tell. If these guys continue to improve and they're given interesting storylines, both of them could potentially be major players in WWE. Alright, this one comes from @BatistaBrock. What past star do you think would fit this era in their prime? For me, I think it's Bret Hart. He would excel in this era. I would say guys like Rick Rude and Mr. Perfect, both of them were not only really good in the ring, and some would say were ahead of their time in terms of their in-ring performances, but they were both tremendous promos and characters. I mean, really, they had all the attributes. Rick Rude was such a great promo, and he had a unique look to him. He had the tights, he had the mustache, just everything about him. He was an all-around great sports entertainer, and the same thing for Curt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. So I would definitely say both of them, and maybe Bret as well. Bret was never the best on promos, but in the ring, Bret was as good as anybody. So those would be my top picks right there. Definitely Rude and Mr. Perfect would be at the top of my list. Alright, this one comes from Sohail. If Team Nexus beat Team WWE at SummerSlam, then do you think Barrett's career would have been very different to what it was? Not necessarily, because if Team Nexus won SummerSlam, they still could have lost a month later and everything could have been erased. We know how WWE operates with the 50-50 booking. Maybe Barrett would have been Cena one time at SummerSlam and then lost the next 3 pay-per-views, and all that work would have been reversed. It's a matter of doing long-term booking, and if Nexus was going to succeed and Barrett was going to succeed as a main eventer, he would have needed to have been pushed very strongly for a long period of time, not just winning one match and then losing 3. He would need to win match after match after match. Look at The Shield. The Shield was one of the few examples of WWE getting it right. Right from the get-go, these guys were dominant. They won pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view, and it was about 6 months before they finally lost a match. They were dominating WWE, and even after they lost, they continued to win far more times than they lost, and that's why they got over. If the Shield was booked 50-50, where they won one match and then lost 3 matches, who knows if they would have gotten over to the level that they did. Alright, this one comes from PW Pop. Do you ever see WWE NXT opening a second performance center, say in California, to train even more talent? I would say it's unlikely. The thing about Florida is that it's a lot cheaper to run there. If they were to build a facility in California, that would be quite expensive, and the cost of flying people back and forth. A lot of NXT talent and a lot of the people running NXT and a lot of people in WWE, a lot of them live in Florida already. And that's why it's convenient, because Orlando is not that far. A lot of the people are based in the Tampa area, and it's a very easy drive from Tampa to Orlando. So from an economic standpoint, it's very convenient for WWE to have NXT in Orlando, Florida. To have a facility in California would just cost a lot of money and might not be financially worth it in the long run for WWE. They already have something good going with NXT, and I don't feel there's really a need for them to add another performance center in California, or really anywhere else for that matter. Alright, this one comes from Kyle Hartman. Do you think the ECW reboot in 2006 would have worked if booked better? Absolutely, at least in the short term. I'm not sure if ECW as a reboot would have worked long term, especially with WWE moving in a PG direction. Definitely ECW did not live up to what the fans were expecting. The fans were expecting the craziness of the old ECW with the hardcore matches and the blood and the guts and the violence. And really what NXT now is what the ECW reboot should have been. Not an exact copy of ECW, or a watered down copy of ECW, but rather doing something different that's seen as an alternative to the Raw and SmackDown product. And that's what NXT is right now. It's like an underground promotion. I mean, that's what ECW was. It was underground. It was an alternative to the mainstream wrestling companies. And NXT is like that in a way. It's more like an independent wrestling promotion than Raw and SmackDown. There's more of an emphasis on wrestling than the over-the-top storylines and characters, but there's still elements of it. It draws more and it appeals more to your independent wrestling fans. And that's really what the ECW reboot should have been. Alright, that'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding Money in the Bank. And I will see you guys next time for more NoDQ&A video.